Moving on to the Budget Committee. Before we get into that, Tim Churchill isn't here, so we're going to roll the real estate report till the February meeting. So I'll turn it over to Harold Cannon, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The committee recognizes Dave McKinney regarding a budget expansion for dive services related work. David?
Mr. Chairman, Committee Chair Cannon, Commissioners, we recently completed some contract work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It's in the neighborhood of $60,000. It's a chance to talk about money that requires no match. We just got paid for the work. We've done 4 or 5 of these projects over the last few years, and I need to catch up on supplies, equipment, travel, manpower. We bring people from all over the state to do these dive services projects. So would appreciate your consideration of expanding budget 7,700, that's my statewide budget, by $35,000 to accept part of the money we've already been paid.
Thank you, David. This will be a committee vote. Are there any, is there a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? Are there any questions from the committee members? Are there any questions from the rest of the commission or the public? If not, there's a motion on the floor for a budget expansion of $35,000 for related to dive services work. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. David, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, that concludes our business.
Thank you, Chairman Cannon. That concludes our committee meeting. And like I said at the beginning of the meeting, we're going to have a continuation of this meeting at the February meeting. So all the agenda items for tomorrow will be rolled to that date. We'd like to recognize, and you can please come up to the microphone if you want to, Mr. Shane McBroom from Hope Outdoors. Just want to talk about non-resident hunters, wheelchair stuff. Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm with Hope Outdoors. Shane McBroom's my name. I'm from Jackson, Tennessee. And I was basically wanting to ask the commission about the non-resident fee that's, I think, a 7-day all game is $214.50 per individual. But there is nothing on the disabled folks as far as the fee. I know our disabled folks here get a discount to hunt, but the non-resident don't. So I was wondering if there's a way to change that or lessen the fee for these individuals that come and hunt. Excuse me, I'm kind of sick. But anyway, we do basically Hope Outdoors is I get y'all some brochures to look through, and that's what we're all about, and taking these individuals out hunting, fishing, different things. But anyway, I was asked to come and see if we could get something done about the license fee, drop it a little lower so we can afford to pay for these individuals coming out of state to hunt with us. But I just wanted to bring it before the commission and ask that if we can have a waiver of some kind or something to help us out from having the expense of, you know, all these hunters coming out that we're bringing in from out of state, so that we can bring in more and we get to put on more hunts, do different things with these disabled individuals. And as far as the little boy, he's in Jackson. He's in Pinson, actually, on Short Road, and that's where I live. And that family's very, very broken, as you can imagine. And I know the dad and the mother very well, and I talked with the mother that night, and I was there. And it breaks my heart to even think about it. The tears that were coming out of her eyes, I can't imagine. I've got kids of my own, and it tore me up. And I just hope they find him soon. But just be praying for that family. And I was there helping, but you feel helpless when you come out of the woods and you ain't got a kid, you know, for that mother sitting there crying. It was tough. But thank y'all for all that you do. Region 1, all of them that's come out there. I've seen all of them coming out of the woods, and I was in there with them. But it's a great thing that all the community come together for that, and especially the TWRA and all that they do. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Shane, and thank you for going out there and helping with that. I'm going to refer this to Chairman Cannon. He's the chairman of our budget committee, and I'll let Commissioner Cannon speak on that just a little.
You've been about two pretty important things. One is these folks who don't have the chances that we do, and it's a big deal to this commission. It's a very big deal to this commission, so thank you for your effort there. And of course, the second is loving on your neighbors, and if you would, just love them on our behalf, please. We're hurting. We know you know them, but there's parents up here, and grandparents, and this is the hard stuff. This is the hard stuff. We will look into this. I want to be very straight with you, and that is, I don't see the opportunity to have a waiver. We charge our in-state folks with the disabilities for the opportunity to hunt. You are correct. It is at a discounted rate, and that seems fair. It seems fair to them, and it seems fair to have some type of charge there. But let's look into this with Ed, staff, and all, and we will get back with you. It may be a little bit, but I promise we will get back with you, sir. But thank you for your efforts in this.
Could I ask a question? I'd like to ask.
Please come back up.
Yeah. Do you pay all expenses for these hunters, so nothing's out of their pocket? You're saying this
Right.
is, so the license, everything you buy and provide for the
Yes, ma'am.
gas, okay.
We bring them in. If they need gas money, we front that. We raise money during the year doing different things, stew cooks, whatever we can to raise money. And then we pay for their, of course, their license and their lodging, anything they need. You know, we try to make it easy on them as possible, because they got a lot of expense coming out of town, you know, like that. So we had to raise, this year we had a deer hunt in December, and I had 4 out-of-state hunters, Georgia and Arkansas, and it was, I think it cost us $400, $500, $600, something like that in license fees. But we had a guy come up at the end and donated that money. Lord bless us in that, because everything else was out on food and, you know, the expense of putting on an event. But that's why we do what we do. But it's easy on them. Plus, we get them there, and we get them in the outdoors. We use the real foot duck blinds. I'm actually supposed to go up there tomorrow with a handicapped boy, if it don't snow us out. But we use those facilities that y'all have created. And Shane Hall, I've been in contact with him. He does an awesome job, and great guy. And so I try to stay in contact with him on those things that we can use, you know, publicly, which is really cool for those kids. They love that. Well, most of my kids done growed up now. They're adults, young adults, but that's why I was going to say something about it, the non-resident thing. But 7 days, when we host a hunt, we hunt like we'll bring them in Friday, we'll hunt Saturday and maybe Sunday, and then they go back home Sunday evening. So it's only a 2-day hunt. And we host turkey hunts, and out of Jackson we do a turkey hunt and we do a deer hunt, is what we do each year. So it'll be one hunt in April, one in December, is what we normally do.
What I'm hearing you say, I'm sorry, ma'am. Connie, did you get?
Yes,
Okay. What I'm hearing you say is that some type of discounted rate, and you don't need the 7 days.
No,
You
sir,
need a
we don't.
weekend. Okay.
Right.
let us look into that. To give you a little bit of good news today, Jeff Martin sent me a picture of how the handicap blind is doing on ducks. If it's tomorrow like it is right now, you're gonna have a fun day. I have never seen so many ducks ever. It was loaded up. So
Awesome.
I hope you have a phenomenal time, and thanks for doing what you do, sir.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you, Shane, very much. I was looking for my notes here. Okay. Well, I guess we'll just wing it. I don't see them anywhere, so. At this time, I would like to, no, I'm gonna do our nominating committee for the slate of officers for next year. I would like to appoint, it's usually a 3-person nominating committee, and they're going to report back to us on February 12th in Nashville at our meeting. So at this time, Commissioner Jim Ripley, Commissioner Trey Teague, and Commissioner Kurt Holbert, I'd like to ask you all to be my nominating committee and come back in February with your recommendations for the new officers. That's all right with everybody. I've done talked to Commissioner Ripley. He's going to be the chairman of that committee. He graciously accepted, and I hope you all do. So if y'all will report back to us in February with your recommendations. So, Director Carter, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've just got a kind of a hodgepodge of things, if I can run down my little list. Going back to a second ago to when Lieutenant Henry was talking about all the work they've done, just wanted to mention to you that generally when weather like this rolls in, TEMA, the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, generally taps the agency to work directly with several different enforcement agencies, the Highway Patrol and others, because we have the means to get around when other people don't. We've had people literally work 24 to 36 hours in a row, cutting roadways out with chainsaws where ice goes down. We do water deliveries, food deliveries, all those kind of things to people who are stranded during these bad storms. So just want you to know that's probably going to happen if the weather hits, and just kind of put you on notice that we've done it in the past on many occasions. I'm sure it'll happen again. And, you know, this is, like I said, a hodgepodge. None of this is necessarily related, but I know if the weather, a lot of people, of course, are going to be traveling here. And when you go to a reunion, they always give the one that travel to fathers and all that kind of stuff. Well, just note Chad Baker, Commissioner Baker. He and Jeff McMillan both, of course, live in the Bristol area. Jeff had the foresight to come down yesterday, but Chad actually left early this morning through a bunch of snow and ice up there and made quite an effort to get here in time to start home again here shortly. But I just thought we ought to recognize him for that too. At the next month meeting, I'd like to brief you, and I won't go into the details now. Obviously, time's kind of short, but we made some changes inside the agency to better utilize social media, and I know that came up 2 or 3 times today. I want to give you a little briefing about some things that we're trying to do to change that and enhance that a little bit more than we've been able to do in the past. Shane mentioned Shane Hall. Just wanted to mention to y'all as well. I think y'all are tracking Shane. Shane's been back in the hospital again and has had quite a time here over the last month. But as usual, I think he will bounce back like he always does. Every time I talk to him, all he wants to talk about is what he wants to do on the Moment of Freedom things and how well things are going. John Gregory, as you well know, the regional manager of Region 4. John showed up in Crossville one day this week. I forgot my days. He's back on his feet again. He's still recuperating, but John's doing much better than he was about around Christmas, and we're really proud of that. Mark Ridings, Mark is here. Mark, wherever you are, raise your hand. I'm trying to think, was it a year ago or 2 years ago? 2? We weren't sure Mark was going to be with us, period. He was going for a really bad health problem. Now Mark is back up to 100% and just got promoted to assistant chief in IT, so I thought you might want to know that. The National Wild Turkey Federation is having their annual meeting as they normally do in Nashville, and it will be going on while the commission is in town for the commission meeting. So I'll be in touch with you shortly here to see what kind of interaction we want to have. George Thornton, the head of the National Wild Turkey Federation, has been in contact and wants to extend an invitation to the commissioners to participate in anything you can, but I'll, again, for time's sake, I'll get back with you, but just know that on that Thursday, Friday, there are activities that he would like to see y'all involved in if you can. The last thing I want to talk about was Commissioner Cannon, you said we'd address the thing on the licenses, and we certainly will. Just know I know you were summarizing, but it will take legislation and/or rule changes to do those things, so it does take quite a bit of process, but certainly understand where we are with that, and also to know that there are some allowances. Y'all passed a proclamation that gave us the ability to do some things in those hunts that we weren't able to before, especially where kids are involved, and there are another statutory thing that allows us to do things with fishing, not necessarily with hunting. So just know, yeah, we'll take that very seriously and look into that as best we can. Other than that, thank you all for all the time and effort to get here, for what you do throughout the times. But anyway, I guess other than that, that's all the comments I had, Mr. Chairman, unless you had something for me.
I think we're good, Ed. Appreciate it. Any commissioners have any final comments? Commissioner McMillan?
I just want to thank Region 1 for entertaining those of us that were able to make the hunt, and Jeff Martin and his band of cooks and all. The hunting was good enough that we enjoyed it, and the food and the fellowship was spectacular, so we appreciate that.
I will second that motion. Everybody, we had a good time. Anybody else? Anyone from the audience have anything else they'd like to bring before the commission? If there be nothing further to be brought before the commission, I will adjourn the committee meeting to have a continuation. The meeting it will continue on February the 12th in the Region 2 building in Nashville at our next stated meeting. So, thanks everybody for coming out. Please drive safe. I'm very sorry for the change of plans and cutting tomorrow off, but we've all got a long way to drive, and like I said, sorry for the inconvenience, but everybody please drive safe, and thank y'all very much.